Well, good Thursday evening, everybody. It is already February 12th. We're going on 6 weeks of relatively dry weather, minus the little bit of rain and snow that we got a couple of days ago and around a couple of weeks before that. But it's been over a month since we've had a good storm. That's going to be changing next week. Today was a beautiful day. Tomorrow's going to be a beautiful day. We'll have a little bit of fog in the valley first thing in the morning. Saturday's going to be a nice day to be outside. It's just not going to be as sunny. There's going to be a little bit of a breeze. Sunday's where we start getting rain, but Sunday's not going to be a washout. It's not going to be, it's not going to be a day that totally messes with your plans. But Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, those are days to have inside plans. If you need to travel in the Sierra, those are really days to maybe reconsider that need. We're going to get into snow amounts, snow levels, just overall general ideas for next week, although now that we're within a few days of this actually getting going, we're starting to see some of those finer details. What days is the snow level going to be lower? How much snow could we see each day? What are the rain totals looking like in the valley versus the foothills? Things like that. So we can't get super duper specific yet, but I can at least try and help you highlight some of the main ideas. So if you have questions about our stormy pattern next week, throw them in the comments. I'm on Facebook and YouTube. I'm watching my Facebook page here on the phone, the KCRA Facebook page, and 2 YouTube channels over there. So I'll do my best to get to all the comments and questions. You can help me by letting me know where your question is for specifically and what day. The more specific you can be, the better I can help you. But let's start with the overall setup. So we're going to start by looking at what we call the 500 millibar chart. This is where we look to see the areas of high and low pressure that are steering the weather around. These lines here, lines of constant height at 500 millibars. 500 millibars is at like 30,000 feet or so. So way up there, way up where the jet stream is. You can follow the lines. The lines kind of follow the winds, and you can kind of make out the flow of the jet stream here. Big dip in the jet stream setting up off the west coast, and a little bit of a ridge setting up off the middle. These dips are where we look for storm systems. Ridges, especially in the summer, are where we look for heat. And this is as of this evening. So yeah, a little disturbance passing through. We had a few flurries in the Sierra earlier today. This is tomorrow. Little mini ridge, we'll call it. Just enough for some fog in the morning, a nice sunny afternoon. It's going to be a good day. But this is first thing Sunday morning. This trough is starting to dig in deeper and deeper. And look how we just get one little burst of energy after another for about 3 days. And then that dip kind of hangs out. So next week is looking cool, it's looking stormy. That's what that overall map shows us. So that's kind of the superhighway that's driving weather patterns. For the last really month, at least most of the last month, we've had one of those big ridges sitting over almost the entire west coast. That's what's kept things dry. So as that trough digs in, it gets colder and it opens the storm door. Maybe you've heard that phrase before, but it opens the pathway for storms to find their way back into California, and sure enough they will. But one thing that's interesting, and I want to make sure I underscore this here, one of the non-existent ingredients with this particular line of storms, there's no atmospheric river involved. I want to show you what that looks like. If anytime we get a storm, atmospheric river inevitably finds its way into headlines or into storylines somehow. But just want to emphasize, no atmospheric river here with this one. We track atmospheric rivers, which are just corridors of deep tropical moisture up in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. We track that by looking at water vapor, or what this model calls precipitable water. A little bit of a tongue twister. The areas of blue and deeper purple, that's where there's lots of water vapor in the air. The browns up here, poleward, that's where the air is very, very dry. So when we're looking for an atmospheric river, actually let me back this up. What does an atmospheric river look like? This is an atmospheric river. See how that plume gets pulled northward by the jet stream winds, by the mid-level winds, that's an atmospheric river. When that collides with land areas and a storm system, that can translate into some heavy rain, but this particular one is pointed at the Aleutian Islands. This is Tuesday. Notice what you don't see. There's an atmospheric river there. There's one there, pointed at Baja California. We'll have storms in Northern California at this point. This is Monday night into Tuesday. But there's no atmospheric river pointed at us. And in fact, all next week. Nope. No atmospheric rivers. So what does that tell us? That tells us that rain amounts in the valley aren't going to be impressive. It's going to be helpful. It's going to be a beneficial rain. But 3-day rain totals for Sacramento, we may struggle to get to 1.5 inches of rain. There's going to be times where that rain is heavy between Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The specific timing of that is something we figure out. Well, on Monday, we could start figuring it out on Saturday. For Tuesday, we would start figuring it out on Sunday. And for Wednesday, we would start figuring it out on Monday. That's just when our higher resolution models are able to pick up on those finer details. So we'll get some rounds of heavier rain, but this is not going to be a 2-3 inches of rain a day kind of atmospheric river type of storm. No, over 3 days we'll pick up 1 inch to 1.5 inches. That's very manageable rain for the valley. It'll be wet. There's going to be maybe some ponding on some roads briefly. Flooding's not going to be a concern next week. As these rounds of rain come in, it's going to get breezy. Somebody already asked about winds in Oakdale. I think that was Vicky. She's a loyal follower of these weather chats. It will be breezy at times. The exact strength of the wind, again, is something that we figure out kind of within 48 hours. I will say right now, I don't see anything that screams widespread outages, big tree damage, but we could be talking about wind gusts of 40 miles per hour or so, so you don't want to have anything, hanging out loose in the yard. If it's garbage day for you Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, mind your bins. If you have some loose tree branches, the smaller branches may come down. But again, right now, wind, it will be a factor. I don't think it's going to be the factor. What I do think stands out as the factor is the snow, the amount of snow, which is going to be great for the resorts and great for the snowpack. I don't think it's going to completely erase our deficit, but it's certainly going to help. And the level that the snow drops down to. If you live at 3,000 feet, I've heard from a few of you, like, we haven't had snow yet. There's a pretty good chance that we do get some snow down to 3,000 feet. How much? Again, that's something we figure out as we get a little bit closer. So we're going to start talking about those details. Let's first just talk timing, and we'll talk timing with one of our lower resolution models, but it's a model that goes out far enough to see the entirety of next week. So this is the American model. This is today. It actually did a pretty good job of picking up on the flurries along the Sierra. Nothing that really accumulated, just made for some pretty flakes. There's a dry day Friday, dry day Saturday. This is Saturday afternoon. It'll be cloudy. There is going to be a breeze, and we can talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But Saturday is your dry weekend day. You want to get outside. Saturday's good. Sunday's not necessarily bad, but the breeze starts to pick up. This is 4 o'clock Sunday morning. Steadiest of the rain is still off the coast, but we'll see some showers in the Bay Area into the coastal hills, Lake County, Humboldt, Mendocino County as well. And then as we go into Monday, that's when things really start to kick up. So this is when our first wave of stormy weather comes in. This is midday on Monday. Breeze, you see the heavy snow starting to go. The snow level starts around 5,500 feet or so, but it's going to drop by the time we get to Tuesday. So this is midday on Tuesday. Notice it's still snowing. We'll have rounds of showers in the valley, but no big corridor of really heavy rain. And then here's Wednesday. Still snowing in the Sierra, still showery in the valley. We'll get around the breezes. And then as we get into Thursday, that's where we start to see things clear out. So one of the big takeaways I've been talking about over the last couple of days is that I know people are getting excited about the snow in the Sierra, especially for the resorts. If you want to enjoy that snow, You either got to get up to the Sierra on Sunday before everything starts, or you're probably going to have to wait until later Wednesday or Thursday. It's going to be that kind of snow event where travel above 5,000 feet in particular, it's definitely not going to be fun. And there's going to be times where it's really not safe. There will be times where we see snowfall rates over an inch per hour. That combined with the wind, Caltrans is going to do their best. They can't keep up with that kind of stuff. Visibility is going to be really poor at times, especially over the summits. It's not the kind of weather you want to be driving in unless you absolutely need to. And we'll talk about snow level here in just a sec, actually. I'll pause for a minute and call up one of those graphics. Dirk and I worked together to build a bunch of stuff earlier today. Always fun to get to sort of collaborate on some of those details. But here's what we're thinking as far as that snow level. So Sunday's when everything's kind of getting started. We're not seeing much snow during the day, if at all. The snow level will be around 5,500 feet. Monday and Tuesday, that's when that snow level comes down to around 4,000 feet, 3,000 feet by Tuesday and Wednesday. Wednesday, the snow is not as heavy. Monday and Tuesday are the heavy snow days. And these are days where at 7,000 feet, we could pick up 1 to 2 feet of snow per day. So that's really going to add up over a few days. So if you are in a Pollock Pines or a Fresh Pond or just above Colfax, I would use the next couple of days to get ready for the possibility of some disruptive snow. Make sure if you have a snowblower, make sure you got gas for it. If you need a way to salt or shovel your driveway, prearrange that. Be ready for some disruptive snow, some school closures, possible, between 3,000 and 4,000 feet, Monday and or Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday. We'll see how deep the snow gets. But this will be some of the lowest snow that we've seen yet this season. And when the snow level drops this low, that's a sign, number one, there's certainly some cold air, but that also means the snow that falls at, say, 6,000 or 7,000 feet up around the resorts, it's going to be powdery. The air is much colder, and we're going to be able to see that powder build up. So that'll be good to see there. I'm going to pause and check in on some of the comments. See lots of people watching. Vicki, I hope I answered your question a little bit. Yeah, Oakdale is going to be windy from time to time. For now, I don't see anything worrying, just the kind of thing where you just want to mind anything that you have outside, garbage cans, decor, put the lawn chairs out the last couple of days to enjoy the sunshine, bring those back in. Todd is asking about Forest Hill snow at almost 3,200 feet. Yeah, Todd, I'm not putting out specific numbers for lower elevations yet, just because I want to wait and see what some of our higher resolution models are thinking as far as that snow level, because 3,000 feet, I mean, in Forest Hill, you're kind of right on the edge of what we think the lowest snow level is going to be. So to me, that means I think you're going to see a mix of rain and snow, and you'll probably get some accumulation, say, on grassy areas. But I think you'd have to go up to 4,000 feet to really see some big accumulations. But yeah, Todd, you're in line to maybe get some slippery roads, Tuesday into Wednesday especially. We'll zero in on some of those lower snow forecasts over the next couple of days. For now, we're kind of focusing on what we have more confidence in, and what we have confidence in is everywhere at 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 feet, where we know it's going to be cold enough that this is just plain old snow. It's just a matter of, okay, how much moisture and for how long. That's how we calculate out snow at this point. Yeah, well, that leads in well to William's question. What's your current confidence in the snow level? Well, what's nice is it's been fairly consistent the last couple of days. The only thing, the biggest change in the models over the last 24 to 36 hours is actually a little bit less moisture than what they were showing, but a similar amount of cold air. So we're pretty confident that 3,000 feet is a safe line for right now. As far as whether it drops below that, that's something we'll look for with some of our higher resolution models. But yeah, this is some of this is the first time we've seen really cold air at mid and upper levels combined with a good storm. Somebody yesterday asked me about a freeze in the valley. Not going to be that kind of cold. This is cold air throughout the entire atmosphere, but when you combine it with a storm, we don't have clear skies overnight for overnight temperatures to drop. So valley temperatures overnight are going to stay in the 40s, but during the day they're not going to rise all that much. Low 50s at best. So I'm not worried about a freeze in the valley. Even into the foothills, I mean, temperatures will drop into the upper 30s, but because we'll have rain and clouds, that prevents any kind of hard freeze, say below 2,000 feet or so, or even below 3,000 feet really. So the moisture there kind of helps. Carol says, yay for snow down to 3,000 feet. Be sure to wash my car tomorrow to ensure it. It's funny how that works, isn't it? Carol says, greetings from Quincy. Yeah, I will say, Carol, for you in Plumas County, the moisture is going to be a little bit better farther to the south of Plumas County. That's another detail that we're going to focus on as we get a little bit closer. But certainly in Plumas County, it will be colder at 3,000 feet than it will be in, say, Amador County at 3,000 feet, just because you're farther north. I would prepare for that possibility. Tom on the KCRA Facebook page says, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday okay? Yep, looks good for any outdoor plans. Jeanette says she had a few sprinkles this morning in West Sacramento. What can you expect this weekend? West Sacramento, dry and cloudy on Saturday. A little bit of a breeze, but nothing unpleasant. We may start to get into some light rain in West Sac by about lunchtime. Not a washout Sunday afternoon, but we may have to dance around some showers for the second half of the day. It'll get a little bit breezy too. Scott says, trip planned. What do I think of the weather in Anaheim, Disneyland? I need to know when that trip is, Scott. That would be helpful. Andrew's at 4,500 feet. Can't wait. Yeah, this could be a foot plus snow event for 4,000 feet and up. We'll refine those numbers as we get a little bit closer. Justin on YouTube is asking about any thunderstorms for the Sacramento area next week. There may be some rumbles of thunder mixed in with some of the heavier rain, but the setup is not conducive to those, those pop-up thunderstorms that could turn anything serious. I'm not concerned about severe weather. Could there be thunder? Sure. We're talking strong storm systems coming in with lots of energy, but thunderstorms themselves, as far as hail and wind damage, anything like that, I don't see anything like that at this point. So we talked a little bit about the snow level. Let's talk some snow amounts. And again, when Dirk and I were figuring out what information we were ready to share and what we felt confident about, we put together some day-to-day snow totals, potential snow totals, and we really just kind of focused at 7,000 feet summit levels. It's going to be cold enough for snow the entire time with this round Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. It's not an easy forecast, but it is easier than talking about how much snow we're going to see at 3,000 feet, 4,000 feet, 5,000 feet, things like that. So the more I look at these numbers, the more I feel like the upper range is probably generous. But the idea I want to drive home here is that just with a steady flow of moisture and winds pointed in the right direction, especially on Tuesday, we're going to have wind pointed right at the Sierra. We call it orographics. And even if there's not a lot of moisture, there's plenty of cold air and enough moisture. We could see snowfall rates 1 to 2 inches an hour for a few hours, Monday night into Tuesday morning especially. So over a 24-hour period from early Tuesday morning to early Wednesday morning, 2 to 3 feet of snow at 7,000 foot plus. That's going to be great for the resorts, but horrendous for travel. Monday, snow's picking up throughout the day. It will get more intense as we get into Monday evening and overnight Monday as the snow level is dropping. So I may be leaning more towards the lower end of this range, but 18 inches in 24 hours, that's a lot of snow too. Wednesday, system's still kind of lingering, but things kind of tailing off. We'll see if this number needs any tweaking. But that's kind of what we came up with as a first idea for summit level snowfall. That's a lot of snow. It's going to be some powdery snow too, which is good. Water-wise, we'll probably pick up like 6 to 8 inches of snow in the Sierra, or 6 to 8 inches of water in the Sierra that then turns into snow, of course, because it's cold. So when thinking about our snowpack deficit, Average water content in the snowpack right now is about 10 inches for the Central Sierra. And last check, that's like 39% of average. So if you do quick math, okay, if we were to get another 10 inches of water, that would put us at like 80%. I don't think we're going to get 10 inches of water out of the system. So this will probably get us back to somewhere in the neighborhood of like 70 to 80% of average, which is way better than what we were doing. I just want you to go in with the expectation that these storms, while they're going to be super beneficial, excuse me, I don't think they're going to completely erase the snowpack deficit. It just points us in the right direction, but it's still only February. March can and has been very good to us in the past. We'll just have to see. It's way too early to talk about March. Just scrolling through to see if there's any questions. Lamont says, hooray for the snow. Yeah, that's what I say too. Scott says, okay, his Anaheim trip is Sunday through Wednesday. Let's call up, re-queue the model here just so we can answer Scott's question. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, I've lived in Northern California for over 4 years now. I'm much more familiar with Northern California and how the models do here versus Southern California. So I would encourage you to maybe reach out to some meteorologists in Southern California. There's some great ones in LA. Follow them, watch their news. They'll be able to give you more local expertise, but I can give you a broad brush idea. All right, so this is for Scott for his trip to Disneyland. This is early Sunday morning. Cloudy, maybe some drizzle along the coast. So we go into Monday. This is 4 o'clock Monday morning. Sorry for the shifting around. I'd say Monday's going to be a pretty wet day in Southern California, and maybe even cold enough that we get some snow over the grapevine too. I know some people have been asking about that. That's a possibility into early next week. Tuesday, that next pulse of moisture comes in, and yeah, there's the potential for some rain there. And Wednesday. Wednesday may actually be the wettest and coldest day of your trip there, Scott. Sunday looks like your best day at this point. Hopefully there's plenty of indoor activities for you to enjoy there. The Tuesday and Wednesday are not looking so great. Just out of curiosity, let's call up total accumulation, again with the caveat that I'm less familiar with how these models do based on what actually happens in Southern California, but that's the number this is spitting out for the greater Los Angeles area. This would be through Wednesday night. I think that number's a little inflated. I think that's going to be up in the mountains, but of course Anaheim is up in the mountains. Scott, I think your trip to Disneyland looks pretty soggy. Sorry. If you can get there early on Sunday, hopefully you can enjoy some of the parks before things really get going, but Tuesday into Wednesday would be your wet days. Alright, I can't remember if we actually did rain totals yet or not. I don't think we did. So let's call these up. So we talked snow levels, we talked snow amounts, at least at the summits. I think we'll see comparable snow numbers at 7,000 feet versus 5,000 feet. A spot like Blue Canyon is probably going to be cold enough for snow, if not all day Monday, most of Monday, all of Tuesday, and all of Wednesday. So Blue Canyon's going to see several feet of snow out of this over 3 days. But look at the rain numbers. Remember at the beginning of this, I showed you there's no atmospheric river connection. So this is how you can get feet of snow in the mountains with enough cold air, with relatively little moisture. Sacramento's 3-day rain total may struggle to get to 1 to 1.5 inches. Kind of an interesting setup here, but that's good. This will be enough rain to keep things wet, to add some water to our reservoirs, which are all, by the way, storing as much, if not more, water than what they would normally be this time of the year. So we're in okay shape there. But 1 to 1.5 inches over 3 days, that's not going to cause creek flooding. That's not going to cause stream flooding. Our rivers and our levees, those are all good. So these will be strong storms. They just don't have a ton of moisture because there's no atmospheric river connection. But notice, as usual, you go up into the foothills. A spot like Placerville could see, upwards of 3 inches. Blue Canyon, this is 4 to 5 inches of water. But remember, I just told you this is going to come down as snow. So when I see 4 to 5 inches of water, I multiply that by about, it's like an 8 to 1 ratio. Usually we do like a 10 to 1 ratio for snow, where an inch of water is 10 inches of snow. I don't think it's going to be quite that for Blue Canyon. But this could be, 3 to 4 feet of snow for Blue Canyon. Sweet. Someone the other day was asking me about, snow in Lake County. I think it's a possibility in some of those higher elevation spots, especially if we get, snow levels down to 3,000 feet or so. There's some peaks up there that are around 3,000 feet. It's certainly going to be cold in a spot like Lakeport. It's going to be wet and it's going to be breezy at times. San Francisco is going to be soggy too. So yeah, these are what we would call beneficial rain totals. It's going to be wet, but those amounts of rain over 3 days, especially given how dry it's been with the exception of the last couple of days, soils, our water system, there's plenty of room for all of this to fall into. So this system is really going to be about the snow, which is good. We'll adjust numbers as we need to as we get closer. For now, we think something in like the 3 to 5 foot range feels pretty safe for Blue Canyon, for Kingvale, for the summits. Slightly lesser amounts as you come down into the Tahoe Basin. So Tahoe City, South Lake Tahoe, kind of shielded by the mountains just to the west of the lake, but feet of snow for lake level in Tahoe as well. Just maybe around the range of 2 to 3 feet instead of the 4 to 5 feet that we'll see up and over the summits. So nightmare for travel, but next weekend is President's Weekend. A lot of schools out for ski week this coming week. I think next weekend is going to be a little busy at the resorts. I love to ski. I also like to ski when there's not too much traffic up in the resorts. So I may be waiting until the last week of February or early March. There's still going to be lots of snow on the ground. I may wait until things settle down there. William says, my guess, hope based on storms from the past. All right, so he's going based off his past experience. Pollock Pines, 16 inches. I think if the snow level gets down to 3,000 feet or so, yeah, something 12 to 18 inches seems reasonable for a spot like Pollock Pines. William is rooting for flurries down to the east end of Placerville on the higher end of things. We'll see. Again, that we'll get some of those, the lower snow forecasts as we get a little bit closer. That's when our higher resolution models can help us out a little bit. But William, I appreciate your anecdotes. Anecdotes can be helpful with forecasting too. Todd says Todd is commenting on something I shared on my Facebook page earlier today. So I was riding my bike past Folsom Dam. I go past there maybe once a week, usually. It's a fun ride. It's a challenging ride. But I took video of the dam a few weeks ago. They had the big gates open. I think they had like 3 or 4 gates open. They were releasing water. This was right after our storm in January. But today I went and all the large gates were closed. They had the usual, smaller releases happening towards the bottom for hydropower and just for, regular maintenance releases that they make there on a daily basis. But nothing coming out of the top gates. And Todd says he was a bit surprised Folsom Dam isn't releasing any water. Yeah, so part of the reason is that right now Folsom Dam, or Folsom Lake, the water level is about where water managers want it at this time of the year. And while we're getting good storms coming through, they're going to be cold storms, which means a lot of the precipitation that falls in the American River Basin is going to fall as snow. Remember our January storm, high snow level, we had was it like at least 10 inches of rain in Blue Canyon. So all of that, well, part of that drains into the Feather River, but some of the rain that falls in the Blue Canyon area that drains into the American River, that's a lot of runoff. Well, this time it's going to be snow at Blue Canyon, which means you're not going to get that runoff from 5,000 feet and up. There's less water that's going to be coming into Folsom, at least immediately, but the snow that we get now is eventually going to drain into Folsom later on this spring. So with a colder storm, water managers don't have to make those preemptive releases, or at least not big ones, because most of the water that falls is actually going to get trapped as Sierra snowpack, which is what water managers want. It's what we want as far as summer water supply and keeping the west slope of the Sierra nice and soggy into the spring, kind of prolonging the start of fire season a little bit. So yeah, Todd, perhaps you were surprised to not see those releases happening, but I think those that are a little bit more familiar with how water management works, I've gotten to learn a few things in my few years here, but yeah, actually not too surprising that they're not doing those big releases right now. If this were going to be a storm where we were talking about snow levels at 7,000 feet plus, maybe they would, but not with something like this. Cold storms means they can hang on to the water for a little bit longer. Kelly is asking about Stinson Beach. So that's near the Bay Area. Kelly, can you be specific about the days? I'll tell you right now, Sunday, showery at Stinson Beach. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week are going to be wet and they're going to be windy. That's Stinson Beach. To me, those are not beach days. Unless you're looking for that kind of thing. It's going to be chilly there as well. Saturday's going to be a good day to go to Stinson Beach if you have some flexibility there. Joey is asking if it's going to be windy next week. There will be rounds of wind that come through. This is one of the things that Dirk and I were discussing this afternoon before he left. Wind timing and specific strength, those are things that we focus in on within 48 hours. We can start to get a sense of, okay, is this going to be strong enough for big widespread winds? Right now is when we can kind of start to feel that out a little bit. And for now, we don't see any, major signal for, okay, widespread damaging winds. We're worried about outages. We're worried about, things like that. I don't see that right now. But the wind is going to be a factor. I think wind gusts around 40 miles per hour. We'll see that a couple different times for the valley, especially the east side of the valley and into the foothills. Just as these rounds of rain come through, it's not going to be an all-day 40-mile-an-hour wind kind of thing. So wind, yes, but I was talking about this earlier. It's just the kind of thing where don't leave your trash bins out for days on end. If you have decor, if you brought out any lawn furniture, pack that in probably on Sunday, just because the winds will be kind of ebbing and flowing throughout that 3-day period. Jesse's asking about the weather in the foothills in Placerville. Part of that depends on your elevation in Placerville, because there's lots of different elevations. It's going to be chilly. It's going to be breezy. It's certainly going to be wet. Placerville will pick up maybe like 3 or 4 inches of rain over the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday period. High temperatures will probably be in the 40s. Could we see some flakes into the east end of Placerville? It's possible. Do I think there's going to be disruptive snow in Placerville? No, not at this point. I think you have to go a little higher up the hill to do that. But again, those are things that we can check in on as we get a little bit closer. Mike is asking, do I cancel Tuesday 4 p.m. Little League practice now and move to Thursday 4 p.m.? Specific location would be very helpful, but Mike, I can tell you that right now Thursday looks like a better day than Tuesday. Will it be raining at 4 p.m. on Tuesday? That I can't tell you right now, but just the overall stretch, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's going to be cool, it's going to be rainy at times, it's going to be windy at times in the valley and in the lower foothills. Thursday's a day that for now looks cool, but it looks dry. Field's going to be wet, but there will not be rain falling. So Mike, the way it looks right now, Thursday looks better than Tuesday. But if you cancel your Tuesday practice and then it doesn't rain right at 4 p.m. on Tuesday, don't get mad at me. I gave you that caveat. But if you are the plan ahead type, yeah, I think Thursday would be a little bit better than Tuesday. All right, I've answered a bunch of questions. Hopefully I've helped out those that I can. I will leave you with one last look at what we're expecting impact-wise. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, days that we're focusing in on. Right now it looks like Monday and Tuesday are the days with the heavy snow and the gustiest winds. Things start to ease on Wednesday, but travel is still going to be quite messy at this point. So I'm off tomorrow. Dirk will be in the evenings, and you'll have Tamra and Ophelia. Ophelia will be in tomorrow morning with Tamra. So follow them on social media. They'll be sharing updates, and I'll be back in here on Monday, or you can join me at 10 o'clock tonight and 11 o'clock tonight on KQCA and then KCRA. But of course, details on KCRA.com. I'm going to get a new web story cooking, and I'll share out that link later on tonight as well. It's going to be a good one. I'm excited about the snow. Hope you guys are too. I also hope you heed the warnings and you stay off the roads in the mountains these days. Not a good idea to be driving if you don't have to. We can enjoy